Hey guys, it's EJ with Blockpad, and today we're looking at style rules, this time individually applied styles. So in our last video, we covered generally applied styles, which work a lot like formatting defaults. But for individually applied styles, this is formatting rules that you create and then apply to specific objects that you select in your file. So again, I thought the best way to do this would be to show you a file I made using style rules. This is what I started with. So I started with these generally applied styles where I made some heading and paragraph style rules. And then what we're going to do in this video is create individually applied styles for the inputs, calculations, and results. And then after that, we're also going to cover making some style rules in a spreadsheet like this. So let's get into it. The first thing I'm going to do is go to Style, Manage Styles to open the Style Manager. We're going to create a new rule and change objects of type to dynamic equation. I'm just going to leave the container as report. Now for an individually applied rule, we click Apply Individually and give it a name. In this case, we're going to call it Inputs. Now, for inputs, I'm going to change the text highlight to this light green, and I'm also going to change the padding to be 0.15, 0.02, 0.15, and 0.02, and press enter. Notice that's not changing anything in our file. That's because we haven't said which objects we want to have this style applied to yet. I'm going to close out of this and select one of our inputs. And in the properties window, I'm going to change this style property to inputs. And notice now that applied the styles that we created. I'm going to hold Control and click all of the rest of the inputs and change style to inputs. And that's going to apply it to those now too. So when I go back to the Style Manager, I can make more changes and I will see it happen in real time. So I'll go to Inputs and change Border to this all four sides in black, apply in Preview, click OK, and now I see that border on these equations. All right, I'm going to make two more rules for dynamic equation. I could choose any, but I'm just going to keep this strictly for equations. Apply individually. I'm going to call this calcs. And I'm going to change the value format to be a fixed count of 5, not 54, significant figures. And click OK. I'm going to make another rule for dynamic equation individually and call it outputs. And then for this rule, I'm not actually going to make any changes yet. I'm going to close out of this. Again, I'm going to hold Control and click all of these. Go to the Properties window, and then I'm going to change the Style property to Calcs. Another good thing to note when you're changing this Style property, if you click More Options, you're able to add multiple styles onto this one object. So I have calcs, outputs, and inputs all on these. I'll click OK. Notice that's going to put that extra formatting. I have 5 significant figures and the green stuff from the inputs. That's not actually what I want though, so I'm just going to change this to calcs. Now I'm also going to hold Control and click under Results and change this style to outputs. Not going to see any changes yet because I haven't actually defined that style yet. Go back to the Style Manager, and now as I'm making my changes to outputs, I'll see them down here while I make them. So I'm going to go to Border and make this a dark orange border. Apply in Preview, click OK. I'm going to add some padding all around to space the border a little bit off of the text, and then I'm going to change the value format to be 3 significant figures. Click OK. And finally, I'm going to change the text highlight to be this very light orange and click OK. And close out of the Style Manager. And that's it for this page. We formatted the inputs, the calculations, and the results only using style rules. And now if I ever have a new result or a new input, instead of having to restyle it, I can just apply that style rule and that will work. So moving on to spreadsheets, I'm going to come to this sheet 1, and individually applied styles work in spreadsheets too. So if I go to Style, Manage Styles, click New Rule, want objects of type to be any table cell, click Apply Individually. I'm going to call this Headings. And what I'm going to change is I'm going to change the background to this dark yellow. Click OK. Going to change the text color to this light yellow and click OK. And I'm also going to change the font weight to bold. Again, notice I'm not seeing any changes yet. I'm going to close out of the Style Manager, select these cells up at the top, and again go to the Properties window and change Style to Headings. And now I see those changes applied. In Spreadsheets, you have another option where I'll click New Rule, any table cell, where you can click Apply to Table Range. And so here I can type in C4 colon E13, and that's going to apply these to this range here. So the changes I'll make, all I'm going to do is for value format, I'm going to hide the units. Click Hide Units here under number, and click OK. Notice that applied those changes in here. The close out here, when I hide units for a spreadsheet cell, the value still has that unit associated with it. It's just not going to display it. So for example, if I pick one of these and divide by 1 inch squared, I'll be able to convert that to a pressure unit and it will work just fine. It's just that it's not displaying it. And in this case, I'm okay with that because in my title up here, I'm saying all of these are in newtons. So one more thing to know about spreadsheet styles is that if you select a range of cells and apply a format to that using the toolbar here, so for example, center align, what's happening in the background is that's Blockpad's actually making a table range style rule. So if I go to the Style Manager, I can actually click that table range and make more changes. For example, I could change the background to this middle yellow and click OK. I want to point out that if you just select one cell and make a change, so for example, change this to 14, then you're not going to see that applied in the Style Manager. It's only if you apply format to a table range. But now that I have these 3 in here, I can come back and make other changes. So for example, for C4 to E13, I can change the horizontal alignment to center, and I can change the background to be this light yellow and click OK. And then likewise, I can come to headings and change the horizontal alignment to center there. So now I have all of my formatting done and I can handle it all using the Style Manager. One final thing before we wrap this video up is if you remember, clear styles will wipe out any formatting that you've put on an object, but not the style rules underneath. Well, there is an exception to that, and that is table range styles. So if I click Style, Clear Styles, that's going to keep my individually applied styles, but not my range applied styles. So that's just a good thing to know in the future. I'm going to press Control Z to undo those changes. And that's all I've got for you guys today on individually applied styles. Our next video on style rules is going to cover conditional formatting, and then that'll wrap things up. So that's all I've got. Let me know if you have any questions, and thank you.